Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 720, written by Nine Tails. The Monster Electrician. This seriously happened to me last year. I was home alone. My two older brothers are always in our local church, which is just very near to us. It's like one street away. We also had no electricity. It was daytime, so we couldn't pay our bill on time. I was home alone. I'll have to admit I'm not in the church with my brothers because I'm too lazy when it comes to religions and things that need me to go out and talk to people. I would always choose to be home alone, back then. So yeah, I was home alone, no electricity, just using my phone, drawing stuff on my sketchbook, music, etc. My brother came home and he went straight to the bedroom. No word or anything at all. But it wasn't very fast. He walked very normally with a normal face. After a couple of hours, it was almost nighttime. We do have candles, but I couldn't find them. So I asked my brother, who still hasn't come out of his bedroom. He came out quickly and went outside to the house after he told me to follow him and fix the electricity. I was like, "What's your plan?" And he asked me to go get the screwdriver and pliers. He taught me how to get electricity back when it's cut off. He told me to cut this hanging thing. It was a lock for this electricity meter. It's a circle-shaped thing that's attached to a wall in every house that has electricity. He told me to remove the seal after the lock and pulled out the whole cover. This revealed a plastic chip that was in between this metal that's supposed to be in contact with the cover I just removed. So I removed that chip and put back the cover and the lights went on, and I was like, oh wow, that's it? That was easy. Then my brother went straight back to the bedroom again. I received a call on my phone. "We're going to spend the night here. You should come over. We got electricity and food here." My brother said that. The one who's speaking on the phone. Of course I know his voice. I know my brother's voice. This voice. The one who just helped me fix our electricity here. I asked him, "Where are you?" He told me he's in the church. I said, "Stop. You're obviously joking. You're so lame." But I wanted to come over to his bedroom just to throw a pillow on him, but I realized I'm not even hearing any voice from his bedroom while I'm talking to him. He was talking normally. He was not being quiet. I could hear him inside, but there was no voice at all. I couldn't run. My legs turned so weak. I didn't even want to make any sounds at all. I slowly, slow as a nail, grabbed my pants and slowly walked out, while looking at every single corner. I was tearing up so bad, my lips were shaking while I was thinking, if this is a prank, goddamn, I'm such a piece of cake. But it was not. It was not a prank. I arrived at the church trembling, even crying the worst when I saw both of my brothers. They had never ever seen me cry like that before. I'm even crying while typing this out. It has got to be the most traumatic memory of my life because it's so inexplicable. I was with someone who was surely not human. That was not my brother. I talked to him. I followed his orders to fix our electricity. I freaking followed a non-human's command. Case notes for file 720. The Monster Electrician. So the first thing that popped into my mind was actually Fight Club, the movie. Now, spoilers, but if you haven't seen it yet, come on, what are you doing? Go watch it. Where Tyler Durden was projecting a version of himself into the world as a hallucination. He was a split personality that was manifesting in the world, not really, but just in his mind. He wasn't aware that he was the one responsible for all the events of the film. Now, I don't think this exactly fits for this glitch. I don't think that was you, the doppelganger, just where my mind went. Because yeah, you certainly don't have that knowledge buried deep in your subconscious, or it would be a bit odd if you did. And I also agree it couldn't really be a prank because your brother, quote unquote, was in his room. And you would have heard him talking in the room, unless the room is soundproof, but given your description, it doesn't sound like it because you heard him just shuffling around in there. He was physically in there, but it wasn't him. So if that is a prank somehow, I don't know how, given he also was at the church when you went there later on. So I guess it's a doppelganger. It seems to be the most likely answer. Now, sometimes people try to explain doppelganger sightings as autoscopy, which is a medical/psychological condition where you see yourself outside your body. Not as a near-death event, but just seeing yourself outside your body from a different angle or perspective. And then you can see a double of yourself because it's just you seeing yourself. So people don't interact with themselves in these hallucinations or episodes. So given that, the only angle now is that, yeah, indeed, your brother was being impersonated by some entity. Now, when these events happen, I always question, what is the motive? If there's another entity involved, why would they be doing what they're doing? In any crime scenario, the very first thing investigators ask is, what was the motive? It seems reasonable that in these mysteries we should ask ourselves the same thing. What is the motive of these entities? They're not just pure chaos, maybe a poltergeist, but outside of that. What purpose would an entity have to help you restore electricity in your home? How does that help them? Perhaps it's a guardian angel. It's a bit trivial though, it seems, right? For such an event, just restoring electricity? Why would they bother? Maybe you need electricity for some challenge in the future. Maybe you just need to be prepared for it, and you needed electricity for that. Creepy File number 40, written by Mega Weeb, The Disney World Predator. In Orlando, Florida, I was staying at a resort in Disney World. I was sitting outside on the steps of the courtyard, and a man approached me. We were the only two people in the vicinity. The man did not look like a resort guest. I stood up and he began to talk to me. He asked me what my name was, and me being on the spot, I stupidly told him. He smiled creepily. He asked how long I was staying there. I told him I didn't know. He continued on to talk to me, making me more and more uncomfortable. I just wanted to go back to my room and hide. I wasn't giving him any detailed answers when responding to his questions, but when I'm on the spot like that and someone I don't know asks me a question, I answer somewhat truthfully. I really don't want to answer truthfully, but it just comes out. I'd say it's probably due to anxiety. I wish I wasn't so honest to random people. It's dangerous. If I were to hightail out of there, he probably would have been able to catch me. The man had graying hair. He was tall and muscular. He did not look attractive at all. His questions kept getting weirder, like, "Are your parents here?" And, "What room are you staying in?" Dusk began to fall. So many red flags. I'm quite a shy person with people I don't know anything about. I tend to give them one-word answers if they ask me any questions. At this point, I wanted to leave very badly. The man got real close and stared into my eyes, making me even more afraid. He was close enough to grab me. Just then, the door leading to the courtyard opened. I feel scared now. I turned, expecting to see one of the man's friends, but in fact it was the opposite. It was my amazing great-uncle. Out of all the people staying at the resort, my great-uncle came out of that door. I was saved. The man smiled at him, an unsettling smile. My great-uncle knew something was up, and so he told me that my parents needed me for something, and that I should come with him, and so I did. My uncle held out his hand, and I took it, walking past the creepy man. I shivered as I noticed his eyes following me. My great-uncle asked if I was okay. I told him I was a bit scared. My great-uncle asked who that man was. I told him I didn't know. We were headed to my grandma's room, through the vast courtyard. We walked hand in hand on the sidewalk that led to more of the rooms. I kept looking over my shoulder. The man was still standing at the steps, looking at me and smiling. I believe that my uncle knew what the man's intentions were, as did I. The man was probably falling for me. In other words, he possibly was a diddler. I am so grateful that my uncle was there to save me. This happened on my winter break. I was 17 and I still am. I still think about what happened to this day and shiver at the thought of being diddled. I mean, who doesn't? When we got to my grandma's room, I told my parents everything. They were relieved that I was safe and unharmed. Case file number 721, written by Ayumi-san, 2006, a special kind of table repair service. Sounds silly, but this freaked me out this morning. About 3 years ago, my cousin who runs a resale shop posted that she had some random things for free on her porch. One of these items was a blue kid-size fold-out table. These aren't exactly cheap, and I remembered my grandma having one as the kids' table at family reunions when I was a child. Nostalgia made me feel like I should pick it up for my own kids and their cousins for when I host dinners on holidays and so on. The reason it was free was because there was a decent-sized tear in the middle of the leather top. I figured I could just throw a small sheet or tablecloth on it and all would be well. I used it multiple times later, but I was continually annoyed that the ridges of the tear would make anything I placed in the middle of the table tip over or spill. While the virus was a big thing, I decided to fold up the table and store it in the garage since we likely wouldn't be having any get-togethers, not in the foreseeable future anyways. Flash forward to last night. I went to the garage to get some meat from the deep freeze and happened to see this table in the corner. I remember that I bought some fancy duct tape from Hobby Lobby that was pretty multicolored mushrooms all over it. I made a mental note to possibly repair the rip in the morning with this tape after cleaning the table up. After all, that would be less tacky than plain gray duct tape. So this morning, I told my kids I would get it ready so they could paint pictures and watch cartoons. They were pretty stoked as they thought I'd gotten rid of this table. I pull it out to the kitchen and start wiping it down. Get to the top. There is no tear. None. I see a small indenture that appears like a tear, but it isn't even close to the 5-inch gash-sized rip I remember. I asked my husband if he maybe repaired it without my knowledge, even though that would be fairly evident if he had done so. He was also slightly bewildered and said he too remembered the tear, and no, he hadn't touched the table at all. I have a picture of the table from this morning, but I unfortunately don't have one with the tear. I know this seems really trivial, but I honestly can't make sense of the situation. Lucky me, I guess. Now my family can actually use this table on the regular.